Justin.
And I'm Keith, and we want to welcome you to Forgetting Walls.
Yeah, so this is our first official podcast, and we're excited to bring it to you.
Very first one, yay!
Yeah, woo!
So, like we said, we want to welcome you, and we're doing it kind of special tonight, just a few days after Christmas.
Yeah.
Maybe just like 2 days after Christmas, really.
Merry late Christmas, Keith.
Yes, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to all y'all out there, too, which probably by the time you hear this, it'll be after the first of the year since... You know, and so maybe Happy New Year.
Probably, actually.
Yeah, probably Happy New Year. So welcome. We are actually in the same room, which probably won't happen for a long time to come after tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to be leaving you, Keith.
Yep, headed back to college,
yep.
Which is, I guess, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I got to get an education, you know?
I guess. Anyways, but Justin will be moving back to... go back to college, and we'll be doing this in separate locations. So
it'll be interesting to see how that, kind of develops and how the chemistry might be a little different. But
yeah, I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll make it work.
I mean, everybody else can do it. We can do it.
Yeah,
hopefully. So, anyways, first things first. Let's just say that we're a couple of Christians, but this is not technically a Christian podcast.
Yeah.
We can get into the theology of why it's not a Christian podcast, but that may bore you.
Probably.
But
so, yeah, we're just two Christians running a podcast and hopefully making a difference. But yeah, like he said, we're not quote unquote Christian podcasts, but we'll explain that later.
Right. And as you listen more to us and maybe even read our website, let me go ahead and get a shameless plug.
Go for it.
ForgettingWalls.com. You can check us out there. Hey, you can check us out on Twitter too, @ForgettingWalls. It's pretty easy. It's Forgetting Walls anything.
Yeah.
Facebook as well. Yeah, Facebook. And hey, we even have a YouTube channel which has one video.
One video.
And it may stay one video, but we have those sources of media.
Yeah. We just started. What can you expect?
Yeah. So, I guess to really start us off, we should probably tell people a little bit about us so they can realize maybe where we've come from to why we're sitting here behind this microphone and setting up this website that may seem strange to some people, as we would say, on both sides of the wall.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, let's get into a little bit of personal history. So my name's Justin, and I only been a Christian for 5 years. And before that, I grew up in the church, which may seem kind of strange. Like, he grew up in the church. Hasn't he always been a Christian? I don't really think that's the case. I grew up in the church, and I believed in Christianity just mostly because my parents believed it, and just because that's what I grew up with. That's what I was used to. I remember distinctly the first time I ever realized that I could choose my own religion. That I could believe something different than my parents, and it blew my mind. And I was like, whoa, what is this? And so through a lot of, to make a long story short, through a lot of negative experiences in the church and a lot of politics and just nastiness and a lot of bad things that I saw, it caused me to really look at what I saw Christians and how they acted versus what they said they believed.
Yeah.
And to me, it was like, if this is what being a Christian means, and if this is what, living the Christian life, taking up your cross and following Jesus, if that's what this looks like, I want nothing to do with it. And so I just I left. I very quietly left the church and stopped attending and kind of went on my own, I guess you call it spiritual journey, I guess, if you want to. And really at that point became just agnostic, and I believe there was something greater than myself out there, but I didn't know what it was, and I wasn't even sure we could know what that was. And so it was a lot of years I started getting involved in a lot of different religions, such as, Buddhism, Taoism, Shinto, a lot of the Eastern religions, because, in Western culture we know nothing about them, so they're pretty cool. But
Right.
I started getting involved with those religions and meditating, every day, and
How'd that work out for you?
I love it. I still meditate today. You should try it.
That's another podcast.
Yeah, we'll see. But just a different emphasis on the meditation.
Right.
But anyway, so I was doing all these things, and really, I feel like during that time I was still searching for God.
Right.
I was really, really hesitant to go back to Christianity.
Yeah.
Because that's what I grew up in, and that's what people had treated me so negatively in the church, and I was like, I really don't want to go back to that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took many, many years of me searching and dealing with a lot of issues in my personal life.
Right.
And after a long series of circumstances, which it's be way too long to mention right now, I eventually started going back to church, and I found Christ through the community that I was around, and through people who loved me and brought me into the church, and really accepted me for who I was, even with all my mistakes and all the things in the past. They still love me and still care for me, and they showed me a Savior who still cared for me.
Right.
And so, to make a long story short, that's how I became a Christian. And then about a year after, I got saved, I guess. I hate using the word saved, but that's a whole nother thing. But, a year after I became a Christian, I got a call to ministry. I felt like God was calling me to dedicate, my entire life to a full-time ministry and pursuing Jesus and letting other people know about Christ.
Right.
I felt like that was my life's calling. And so I started getting involved in a lot of campus ministries and pretty much everything you can imagine, like Christian leadership, like things that quote-unquote good Christians should do. I was on top of that.
Right.
And so in the process of it, I also got to see kind of a lot of the aspects of how ministry works in the modern context, which some of the things in it kind of really opened my eyes to, wow, a lot of it is marketing, and a lot of it is just
Exactly.
a lot of it is just trying to appeal to the greatest number. It's not. I'm not saying that all churches are like this or whatever, but a lot of experiences I had, it was just very, market research in a way. And so it kind of it made me really wrestle with, okay, what do I believe? And then also, going to a secular liberal university,
Right.
also brings a lot of things into question. And also things that I learned in class, and taught from a very secular standpoint.
Right.
Made me really wrestle with my faith, and I'll be honest, I'm still wrestling with my faith a lot.
I think we all are at some point.
Yeah, definitely. And so it's brought me to this point where I know I need to do something. I know I need to go and follow what Jesus said. I need to stop being stagnant and actually do something.
Right.
And so that's a little bit of why I'm here today. So
Exactly. And then I guess it just flows into you're going to hear a lot of stories. I think as we move along with this podcast, one of our big things is to share stories that we hear. That's the goal, is to not just be able to share our experiences and our stories, but to share everyone's story that is willing to share it with us.
yeah,
Which will be a great thing. But I guess far as me, my story is probably a lot longer than Justin, since I'm 20 plus years older. But they do intersect greatly.
Yeah.
I grew up a non-Christian in a household of non-Christians. I mean, it is what it is. There was no searching for God. There was no spiritual journeys as a youth. There was just, life from the environment I lived in it. So to find Christ came years later. I was an adult. I guess the story of me finding Christ is as, I would say, accidental as me finding ministry. But only accidental from my point of view, not from God's point of view. And of course, that's just, probably how I see it and how I believe about it. But I did find Christ, and without notice that as finding Christ, you're gifted with whatever God gifts you with. And for some reason, even though I didn't know it at the time, it was to teach. It was to just be a part of God's called ministry. Before I even knew I had a calling, I was living my calling. I mean, come on, who gets saved one Sunday morning and gets saved, and then not the following Wednesday, but the following Wednesday.
So like a week and a half later.
Yeah, like a week and a half later.
Yeah.
I'm teaching out of the book of Acts to a Wednesday night Bible study.
That's so crazy.
And you know what I knew about the book of Acts?
What?
It was in the New Testament. That's about it.
That's pretty good, though. That's somewhere.
But it wasn't like I was, I'm doing this for the show. I just really felt like that's what God wanted me to do. But after that experience, then I got kind of dinged around for a while. I guess you can say I got kind of kicked in the teeth.
Okay.
That's a phrase I've heard used before.
Oh, yeah.
You get kind of kicked in the teeth with reality of what happens when you have no navigation in life down a path that needs someone to come alongside you. It's kind of like your GPS that we all have now. You turn that GPS on and it gets you to your destination. Christianity, I think, has a GPS, and yes, we can go, the Bible's our God book, it's the instruction manual, which it is, but I think we take for granted that people alongside of us is the main navigation that we need. And there was no one guiding me. There was just people telling me,
right,
show up for church and you tithe 10% and you do all these things, but they weren't teaching me.
Yeah, there's no discipleship relationship.
Yeah, there's no discipleship. There was not a time where somebody truly taught me what it meant to live as a Christian. They just taught me the things I shouldn't do as a Christian.
Gotcha. Which
you'll hear plenty about through our podcast.
Right.
The whole idea of standing against and standing for, and it was rough. So I went on a up and down path. I mean, up and down with my wife and up and down with my family, and needless to say, up and more down with God, until a call came clear. And that's when I said, okay, Lord, we're going to push forward, and I'm giving you everything. And I was giving them everything, and I was working in the church and got a call to youth ministry and felt like, this is my call and I'll do nothing else.
Right.
I will never do anything but youth ministry. And obviously today I realized how silly that was to determine God's plan on a calling in the beginning. But I did. I went through churches, full-time staff and bivocational, and I volunteered. And let me say, we've said this before, but I got a true peek behind the curtain. Come on. All you Wizard of Oz fans know what I'm saying. Here comes Dorothy and Toto and the Lion and Scarecrow and the Tin Man, and they're all bebopping down the yellow brick road, and they end up at Oz, and they want to see the great and powerful Oz. And he's back there doing his thing, and nobody is wiser to what's happening. But when they get a glimpse behind the curtain, when they peek behind, when they are able to see behind the curtain, when Toto, that little rascally dog, pulls that curtain back, what do you see? Something that shocks you, something that really blows your mind, and you're like, wow, I would have never guessed this is what I'm dealing with.
Right. It kind of makes you reevaluate a lot of things.
Yeah, it puts things in a different perspective. Your worldview really starts to change when you get a better glimpse at things. But for some people, I believe that, I hope that we're able to reach that. Those people saw a glimpse behind the curtain and hightailed it. They got on their horse and they rode out of Dodge, and they said, I'm never coming back to it.
Right.
Where some of us see it and said, this is not what it's supposed to be. It has to be different. Jesus did not set this up for us.
Yeah.
So there's got to be something more. And that's when we start to dig. And we find in Scripture, we find through, like we said, it's not a Christian podcast, but you'll hear Christian things, and prayer and reading and living in community with one another. You see that it's much, much more different than what you saw behind the curtain. And that's where I'm at now. I went on a journey. When I came back from Haiti, 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago.
I remember that. Yeah.
My mind wasn't blown because I went on a mission trip. Don't get me wrong. I've been on mission trips.
Right.
But this one was different. This one was almost, let's just say, free your mind, free your mind. That's really what it was. God put things in a perspective of, what are we doing sitting in our pews? What are we doing behind those nice, pretty walls? And are we really doing what God's called us to do as a church?
Right.
And that's I stopped myself. I resigned from the position I was in. And some people believe I turned my back on the church, but what I really did was I turned my back on things that wasn't necessary for God to do the thing He had called me to do, and that was to disciple, that was to reach, that was to do so many different things. And I know it's starting to sound churchy, but that's what led me to see where we was going wrong. Because when I was in Haiti,
right,
the thing that clicked in me was, man, these people, they're people.
Right.
They're not projects.
Yeah.
They're
not problems to be solved.
Yeah, it's not, oh, here's some people in a third world country and we're going to go take a mission trip for a week and we're going to go solve all their issues by building 3 houses or running a clinic for a day. But what I saw was being able to take time out of my life and invest in somebody else's life, maybe for a moment, maybe for a week, maybe for a lifetime, by building relationships. But it wasn't like I had to go and fill a quota of converts.
Right.
Even though converting people to Christianity is a great thing in my heart to see people know Jesus, but that's not the end all be all of what we're doing.
Right. That's not the final word. That's not, the end goal.
Yeah, and so to say all that and kind of sum it up as well, I've been up and down in the past 3 or 4 years and trying to figure out what it was that God really called me to do and what is it He wants me to do. And I think, where me and Justin intersected when he came to the youth ministry I was leading and kind of growing into that environment with me. And let's just be real. A youth pastor doesn't grow people without being grown himself. It's a two-way street.
Right.
So here we sit, he's a year away from being, done with college, and which is awesome. And we're sitting here starting this thing. We have no idea where it's going to go.
Yeah.
But hopefully after this podcast, you'll have some understanding of what it is we want to do.
Right.
And I think that's where it brings us. It's a little backstory about us, and maybe you'll hear stories from us throughout the podcast. You'll read blogs from us that will give more insight to who we are. We really don't want to bore you with all the details,
mundane details of our life that, of course, you're dying to know.
Yeah, and realistically, our life revolves around Jesus, based on the worldview of Star Wars. That may sound silly.
Oh gosh!
But I want you to listen. If you get a chance and go back and replay this podcast, which you may or may not, and you listen to Justin's story, I just want you to think of young Anakin Skywalker being brought into the Jedi Council, being raised the proper way, not to be angry, to force all of his energy into being good and using the Force for the positive things, only to find out it's really not as great as he thinks it is, and he falls victim to the dark side. He strays away, but yet in the end, young Anakin brings balance to the Force. I don't know if Justin's bringing balance to the Force.
Did you really just condense my life into the story of Anakin Skywalker?
I surely did.
Jeez.
And by the way, in order to really get us, you've got to know Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because there will probably be many references to Star Wars. And unfortunately, I am a Christian, but I'm a lover of the Sith. So there we
Jedi
are.
all the way.
Yeah,
that's
see,
all I'm saying.
and you'll understand one
That's
more
my
thing.
Buddhist philosophy coming through.
Yeah, one more thing. You'll understand that we are as different as night and day and oil and vinegar.
Yeah.
We have very different viewpoints, which I think brings us to the concept of let's just kind of talk about forgetting walls.
Yeah.
Just kind of lead us off and
Yeah. So like me and Keith, we have, in some ways we have very similar worldviews, but in other ways we have very different perspectives on things. If you look at us, we're very different as well.
Yeah, he's a little guy. I'm a huge guy.
Yeah, jeez. But so kind of what you were going off earlier about the church and how it's addressing things, and both of us have recognized that in the Western modern world, we see that there's growing separation and conflicts between the church and the secular world, between those who claim that they're Christians and those who want nothing to do with Christianity. You can look anywhere in, on the internet or news, whatever. There'll be some story about how some either, quote unquote, dumb Christian said something stupid and haha, let's laugh at him. Or, oh yeah, these atheists are doing something, that's infringing on religious right. And it gets to a point where both of these groups dig their trenches and are refusing to move and are just like, yep, one of this side is going to win, and we're not going to back down, and it's either we're going to die or we're going to go down, like, fighting.
Right.
And so it's become so separated, and like there's no real constructive conversation. There is some conversation, but for the most part, these groups are becoming more and more separated from one another and more isolated and just really nasty toward one another. And so kind of what we want to do is to be a bridge between these two different groups. We've come from both sides, and we're able to see kind of where both these groups are coming from. We want to kind of bring more people to the middle and be like, hey, let's actually have conversations. Let's look at these things. Because we all have questions. We all have doubts.
Right.
Let's come together, people.
Yeah, and, it's the conversations, like we said, I don't think we're reinventing the wheel here.
No, absolutely not. We're not the first to do this, by any means.
And there are people out there doing it today. Hey, we can shout out to a lot of people who are doing podcasts and blogs right now who are opening, real conversations between people who are very different. We just want to be able to do more than open a conversation. We really want to find a way to integrate people together in such a way that, they don't have to feel like, you're different than I am, so we can't be around each other. I think,
right.
Like we said, we're literally just two dudes. Yes, we're Christians and we love Jesus, but, we really think that there can be more to life than drawing a line in the sand and saying, pick your side.
Right.
Jesus didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus met people where they were at, and he built relationships with them. And I believe that even if people don't choose to be a Christian, we can still have good, great, open conversations that help us grow in our faith.
Yeah. And grow in our understanding of other people.
Right. I think, I guess at the end of the day, if Christians listen to this, that our goal is to help them understand how to live in a world that maybe they don't feel like they belong in, that they feel so different from, but yet I want them to be able to interact with people in such a way that doesn't turn them away from feeling like they're a human being. But on the other side, if there's people who are not Christians listening to us, I want them to see that we're trying to erase the stereotypes of what I believe traditional institutional churches, and I don't want to put a negative connotation on that, but really what I think Christian culture as a whole has done to hinder our relationships with those who aren't. So it's a big thing to get that conversation open and saying, hey, we don't really care what label you are. We're here to speak. We're here to talk. We're here to work with each other. But I know at the end of the day, our goal is to share Jesus in such a way that they see Jesus.
Right.
How Jesus really was. Not how man's put limitations and Jesus in a box, but really see Jesus. And they can choose whether they want to believe or not believe.
Right.
I guess also we fully accept the fact that there's going to be people who don't like what we say.
Oh yeah, that's a given.
There's going to be people who are offended, and you know what? I'm not trying to offend anybody. Honestly, I think I'm not purposely setting out to offend anyone. We're just two dudes talking.
Yeah,
and we're going to talk about things that are probably relevant to us in this culture gap. We're going to talk to people that we think are relevant to us.
Yeah.
I guess that's why it's our podcast.
Right.
I guess something else I want to add is, we're talking about culture, whether it's secular culture or Christian culture.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I really want to make sure that we're speaking about is how those two cultures, whether we want them to or not, they interact and they infiltrate each other.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we see it all the time, and we'll probably talk about this more towards the end of this podcast, but how they interact and they infiltrate culture as media, like movies and music, TV, podcast. I mean, the world is a blend of these two cultures, not butting heads, but kind of just... There's this. You always have an afar.
Softly mixing together.
Softly mixing together. Yes.
Yes. That's like a great smoothie.
Smoothie. Well, that's. Excuse me. That is great. All I can think about is Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore and my favorite guy Terry Crews in the movie Blended. They're blending. They're just... Oh yeah, let's not let me sing. Justin's the singer, I'm not.
Oh jeez.
But we want to be able to talk about the positive and negatives of those things,
Right.
Like I said, to sum it all up, we are about Jesus.
Yeah.
But we're not going to alienate people because they don't believe in Jesus.
Right.
Because I don't want people to alienate me because I believe in Jesus.
Right.
I mean, I want to have friends and talk with everybody and have good conversations and hang out. And, if that means, they have to be an atheist and I have to be a Christian or whatever it is, then...
At least we can go and grab a beer together at the end of the day.
Yep. And it's always good to grab a beer together.
Always.
All right. So, wow, we talked a little bit about... kind of a little bit about Forgetting Walls. Mm-hmm. I think, there's areas we're probably going to have to clarify a little more.
Yeah.
So I think one of the areas that maybe we need to speak to a little bit is, we talked about being a bridge.
Right.
The gap of isolation between the two cultures. We kind of talked a little bit about, looking behind the curtain and seeing what church has done and needless to say, there is a negative to both sides. I mean,
absolutely.
Probably speaking to the fact that, if you have somebody on one side who wants to debate greatly to the cause of Christianity, there's somebody on the other side that wants to debate greatly to the cause of not Christianity.
Right. And probably tell the other person how much they're wrong.
Yeah. And it's always about who's wrong.
Yeah.
And who has to be right. But I don't think, and this would be my point of view, I love to debate.
Oh, I love to debate too.
I mean, I've read enough books. I've spent time in school, and I love to talk about science and religion and how they're not so dissected from each other, where one side's laying over here and the other's over here, and they're totally different. And there's this great chasm between religion. I love doing those things, but I think what I would rather see is people say, at the end of the day, neither one really makes a difference. It doesn't matter if we're debating or arguing these points. I think at the end of the day, you've made up your mind. I mean, if me and Justin argue to the fact that, the sky is blue, but yet I'm telling them it's red,
you're not going to convince me it's red.
Yeah. And then I'm not going to convince him because he absolutely believes the color that he sees is blue. Yeah. And I may say the color is red, and that's it's all on your belief system.
Right.
And I think we fail to see that. I think we fail to see that as human beings, that a person will change their point of view based on their belief, what they learn to believe. Right. You hear the phrase burden of proof. You hear people talk about what they can tangibly grab a hold of to believe. Some people, experience supernatural things, but it's always going to come down to what they believe. Right. We believe wholeheartedly that no one ever truly believes in anything, changes their beliefs at the point of a sword.
Oh yeah, not through force. If history has shown us anything, it's that really true conversion does not happen when you're forcing someone to do it. We're not about Christendom here at Forgetting Walls.
Yeah, it's we're never going on a crusade, to say the least.
To say the least.
We may be very pointed in our belief and our faith. We may not waver in what we believe, but what we'll always do is ask the questions that may challenge what we believe.
Yeah, because I feel like in regards, because we believe it to be true, and that I don't think there's any danger in thinking that we can harm the truth in a way like that. Because if we believe it is true and it is the truth, then by questioning it and by investigating it, we shouldn't be afraid, because if it's true, it's true.
Exactly.
So, we shouldn't be afraid to go after truth, and that to question things that, our faith might be shaken if we question it too much or anything like that. We should be totally open to having those conversations and looking for the truth no matter where it is.
Yeah, I don't believe that me confronting let's just say me confronting an atheist and saying, hey, I believe that, the earth is, 10,000 years old, and, there was no Big Bang or evolution, or what. If those are the things that I tell somebody, or if I say to a Christian that I believe the earth is 13 billion years old, and, the process of what God did was through evolution, I don't expect to change their point of view. I don't expect them to believe me just based on what I believe. What I expect is, if I offer a valid point, that we have open dialogue and conversation and say, hey, I don't believe that, I believe this. Let's come somewhere in the middle and just have a good conversation. Yeah. And know at the end of the day, our goal wasn't to change someone, but our goal was to share with someone. Yeah. I do like to see people change.
Oh, absolutely.
I love the conversion to Jesus. I love seeing people get on fire with God, because that's me as a Christian. But, and I want to see people, because I believe there's a heaven. I believe that, one day all men will die eventually, and we'll have to face, God. And I want all people to know God and to be in that place with us. But I think at the end of the day, nobody, like we said, is going to be forced into that decision.
Right.
So what's the point of all the arguing?
Right. So I agree.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Nope. Your point.
All right. So, I totally agree that, and it's not just about that, we want to see people go to heaven, which is, that's true. Absolutely. Yeah. But it's also that we feel that, through our experiences, whenever that the Christian faith, that's not only will you face, judgment in the end and all that stuff, which we'll talk about in a later podcast, I'm sure. But we also believe that that's the best way to live now and currently. Not saying that if you're not a Christian, then you're not living your best life now by any means. Jeez, we're not saying that. But, it's that we believe that, Jesus is the truth,
Mm-hmm.
and that he's the way, and that following him is the best way to live, and is the it's not the easiest by any means. It is not the easiest. If being Christian was easy, then
Everybody be doing it.
exactly. And if I could tell you anything through my experience, it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, because I just naturally, me being pretty narcissistic, selfish person,
Right.
I naturally rebel against Christianity. I'm like, no, screw that. Like,
Yeah.
I want to do what I want to do. But
We do agree on that.
yeah, we do agree on that. But yeah, it's not just about where we're going in the future. It's also like living now.
Yeah. And I think when we lay our heads down at night and we think about this calling, I believe that God's given us to bridge this gap and try to. I'm not saying we're going to try to control the isolation that's happening, but we want to really see some effective change come to just the stereotypical way that traditions has built these walls.
Right.
And you're going to hear, we're always going to talk about a lot of the same concepts when we deal with things, especially we talk about the walls that are being built. We talk about the chasm that separates what we feel is Christianity and secular. It's always going to be this thing, and it kind of revolves around the questions that we have on our website.
Right.
Do you feel like Christian culture doesn't get it? Do you feel like that the church just doesn't see you? And you think about those two things, and you think about how that just doesn't affect those outside the church, but affects those who are still in the church.
Right.
And like we said, we know we may offend people, and we know people are going to listen and go, what in the hell are they talking about?
Yeah.
Why do they sound so against the church? But we're not against the church.
Oh, absolutely. That's one thing I want to make clear, is that we're not in any way against the local church. We love, I can't speak for Keith, but I'm pretty sure.
I'll agree.
Okay, cool. I can say whatever now. No,
I stepped on that one.
You brought yourself into that. But I think we can both agree that we both love the local church. Mm-hmm. We love the church. That's how God uses us, is through the local church and being in community.
Yes.
And using the church to accomplish his goals and to build his kingdom here on earth. I believe, getting a little doctrine here, but I believe that church is a manifestation of
exactly
heaven on earth. And so, we don't hate the church. Don't get us wrong. We're not that. But we do see a lot of these institutions and a lot of these things that have been built by man that separate us from other men.
Yeah, and that's one of the goals of Forgetting Walls is to kind of, like we said, you're going to hear it a lot. Just erase. We want to erase the stereotype that's been given to the church. I'm not talking about the buildings that have been built and these fancy ornaments that are on street corners that house people, but we're talking about getting rid of how the world in of itself sees the church, and we want to be able to connect the community with God's community and show them that we're here to love everyone, not just those who walk in our doors, but we want to find a way to connect everyone with God through the local church. And we don't know how that's going to look, but we also know that we'll get a lot of pushback from churches, and not the way I want to use the word church, but we'll get pushback saying that, this is not my job, or, whatever it is. But hopefully what we will see is being able to work outside those walls and connect with people that are outside those walls, that those inside the walls will see the need to serve their community that they are in.
Yeah, and so on a practical level, that's how what we envision this becoming, is that we don't want to be another church. That's
by no means.
By no means. We instead we're aiming to work alongside other people in order to invest in their lives, and we want to really invest and see what needs are yet to be met in the lives of those around us. We want to work with local ministries around us as well, so that we can really work with them and connect them to the needs of their community and be able to serve our community no matter where we end up.
Right.
And so on a practical level, that's really what we want to do. So yeah, don't get us wrong. We don't want to be another church, even though we are, in a way, the church.
We are the church.
Which I think
we'll probably be covering in our segment to the vocabulary of Christianity, to say the least. So making this walk, or taking this walk, will seem weird. Like we said, this is our first podcast. This is about us. This will be less about, good interviews and things of that nature, but really talking about
what we are.
Yeah.
What our goals are.
Yeah, and our main goal is to say, hey, share your story with us.
We'd love to hear from you and from anyone listening,
Yeah, exactly. We don't care how the story sounds. We're not trying to protect anyone.
Yeah.
By no means are we the church police or
no.
Or are we the protectors of religion, because I think there are flaws in every system that is developed by man.
Yeah.
And we just want to open the door for dialogue.
Yeah.
To say, hey, here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to speak honestly about what's going on and be, I guess, as transparent as one can be.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a limit to transparency. There may be for some people.
Unless you're a ghost, I don't see how you could do that.
True.
It's a really bad joke. I'm sorry.
But I don't believe in ghosts, so I guess we're okay.
Hey.
Anyways, so to kind of, I guess, sum up the about time right now. I mean, we're speaking about Forgetting Walls is when it comes down to it, is that we see people as people. They're not projects.
Right.
And we don't care what label you have put on you.
Mm-hmm.
We want everyone to come together and be able to speak honestly and openly about what they believe.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to believe the way I believe. What I am asking you is just to ask yourself the question.
And be honest with yourself.
Yeah. Because maybe you hear what we say and go, maybe they're not all there, but some of what they're saying is making sense.
Yeah.
So...
Maybe. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm not superstitious, so I don't cross my fingers.
I got a lot to work through.
Yeah, you just can't find good help. Anyways, but yeah, so like I said, just take the journey with us. And saying all that, man, we really got some other good stuff we want to talk about on the podcast. I'm not going to promise you anything, because I guess that's doctrinally wrong to make promises.
Really? Really? We're going to go there right now?
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that. But yes, I'm not going to make a promise to say that all our podcasts will be better than this, but hopefully they will be. But we do have a couple of things we want to try out on you guys tonight. And our first one is called the vocabulary segment.
Vocabulary! Woo! Okay, I know that doesn't sound very exciting, but in this section, what we're aiming to do is, as we talk, we're going to be using a lot of language and some words that we really think... How long is that? Please stop it.
It was frightening.
Like you said, you can't find good help these days.
I was just trying to throw him off. That is my goal, to throw Justin off. And you'll notice this. My goal is to throw Justin off 3 times in a podcast.
3 times?
3 times.
All right. Well,
and that's one.
All right. Okay, I'll give you that one. I will give you that one. All right, let's get back on track. So, yeah, the vocabulary section is we're going to be using. Stop looking at me. You're going to be using a. We're going to be using a lot of language which people are stuff. Get to put your phone down. You need to be respectful during a podcast, Keith. Jeez.
What he was saying is that
no, I got this.
Are you sure?
Yeah, you just go. You do your thing. I got this. Okay.
I'm just making sure.
Yeah, you're good.
Just wisdom.
Whatever. Go over there. So, in what we'll be talking about, there'll be a lot of language that we use that we think there are a lot of words that people have like kind of misconstrued, and we want to kind of clarify what these words mean and kind of put them in their original context and sort of clarify so everyone's on the same page when we do talk about these things, that we'll be, all together on that subject.
Right. And to see words, and I think my biggest thing is because I'm so bad with words that I use so many words without thinking about what I'm doing. But in the past year or two, I've really listened to people talk, mainly religious people. And yeah, they're religious people, to say that they use words in such a way that I think really hinders the advancement of the gospel. And don't get me wrong, it's not just religious people. I believe non-religious people do the same thing. But they're not at fault because they're not held to accountability of knowing what these things mean.
Yeah.
So it's just our way of helping our religious friends to know that you're wrong.
Yeah.
Use the words right. I mean, come on, think about it. The English language is not a hard language to grasp.
Yeah, it's difficult to learn.
It's difficult to learn, but I feel that it's only difficult to learn because you weren't raised in it.
Wow. Language privilege over here.
Yeah, I guess because, I can't learn any other language. I have a hard time learning other languages.
I love other languages.
I love them. I watch Korean dramas all the time.
Yeah.
But
I'm aware.
Just to learn it because the English language is backwards.
Yeah, that's true.
The sentence structure back, everything. Anyways.
Yeah.
We're going to get somewhere we don't want to be in a minute.
Yeah. But anyway, this is also on a more selfish level. This is going to be a kind of theology section where we can kind of geek out over theological words.
And we can geek out.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think
our first word for the vocab section is... That's your cue. That's your cue.
Church.
Really? All that build up?
It's just we're working through things. Believe me, I'll have it up. We'll have the kinks worked out hopefully next time. But yeah, today's word is church. You may think that's a simple word, and that, hey, what's the big deal with church? Well, I mean, what is the word? But when I started to look up church, I mean, I know what church means. I mean, I know basically how to use church in 100 different ways. But I really wanted to get a snapshot of what, I guess the educated world defines church as.
Why'd you look at me when you said that?
You go to a secular college.
I do, and I'm proud. Go Mountaineers.
We beat y'all this year in football.
We're not going to talk about it. Go talk about church, okay?
So anyways, there's a few definitions. Dictionary.com lays out a few definitions for church. And the very first definition is like the epitome of why I can't stand the way the word church is used. And the first definition is a building for public Christian worship. So basically they're referring to church as a building. The second definition, not much better, public worship of a god or a religious service in a building.
Interesting.
Yeah, back to back, it's just basically pointing to a building. The third definition, what I'm kind of shocked to see, is the whole body of Christians, believers, Christendom, which I feel is the correct definition of the church.
Pretty close.
Yeah, because what we believe as the church is, and this is the definition that we will give, and we will tell you a couple of different ways we will be hopefully using church properly.
Yeah.
So
Can't guarantee you, but
yeah, I can't guarantee you we won't screw up from here to there, but we're known to screw up, so it doesn't really matter.
that's true.
But the way we'll be using church is, number one, to refer to the church as the global universal body of believers, as you saw in the definition number 3. It's everyone who has accepted Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, and they are saved by His grace and resurrection. Mm-hmm. And that institutes the church, which, Lord knows, I can rant in about 15 minutes of how horrible, quote-unquote, churches are screwing that up.
Yeah.
But I won't. Also, the other ways we'll be using it is to refer to local bodies of church. Paul used it in his letters. He would refer to the church at Galatia, the church at Philippi, the church at Corinth. He referred to those people who are residing in the area. We most of the times in the religious circles use church as a way to describe a congregant. First Baptist Church, First Methodist Church, First Presbyterian Church, First something church. Any denomination, throw it in there, you're good. You can have Elevation Church, you can have Revolution Church, Renovation Church, Elevation Church. Pick one. I think I said Elevation twice. Yep, because
it's just that big.
Yeah, it's that big. But you hear the word church thrown at the end, and it's an identifying. The identifier is the description to the church, and I don't mind using it that way as long as the building itself is not being referred to as the church.
Right.
I think I have great big old bump on my big toe problem with using it that way. So yeah, that's our vocabulary segment.
Yeah.
Church is not a building.
Not a building,
church,
folks.
Hey, yeah, it's not a building. And oh, by the way, even though UrbanDictionary.com tries to describe it as to strongly agree with something as if it was law, no, just because she's got all that junk in the trunk, you don't say church.
Yeah, man, church.
Yeah, church, man. No, that's not how it works.
Are you sure?
If I'm not a Christian,
okay,
then it can work however you want to.
All right.
But if you're a Christian,
fair game. I'll take it.
Listen, Christians. Use the word the way it was meant to be used. So, vocabulary segment.
Yeah.
So, do you think that?
I think it did pretty well.
Good.
Yeah. The audience seemed to love it.
Yeah. Our studio audience.
Yes.
So, speaking of church, did you have fun tonight?
Well, yeah. I mean, I had fun. I always love going to the movies. So, for those of you listening, Keith and I tonight, we actually, right before we recorded this podcast, we just got back from the movies. And we saw... you don't like the movies?
I love the movies, but I should have went and seen Night at the Museum.
Oh, really? You would have rather seen Night at the Museum? All right. But we actually tonight went and saw the new movie Exodus: Gods and Kings, and it wasn't a bad film.
No, for cinematography, for the acting, for the just for an overall movie,
it was a beautiful movie.
I am so glad I saw it in the theater.
Yep,
honestly did.
A huge screen, all those people, all the wide shots of panoramic. That was great.
Yeah, the depiction of the plagues in a modern CGI process.
It was brutal, but it was awesome.
Yeah, let me just explain this. When we speak of movies and you don't want to hear about them, spoiler alerts will not be the cue to turn off.
Yeah.
There's going to be spoiler alerts when we speak about movies.
But for this, I don't know if you could spoil Exodus.
No, I don't think you can spoil. Well, I think you can because Exodus here wasn't Exodus of the Bible.
Okay, yeah, that I will agree with that.
So if you're going, let's just say this: if you want to see a great movie with good acting, and you want to see Batman play Moses, then by all means, get your kids, Drop them off at the babysitter.
I was about to say drop them off at the movies. I was like, no, that's probably not a good
No, not a good thing. Drop them off at the babysitter. Get your wife, have dinner, or husband, or whatever, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is for you. Grab them, go to the movie, see a great movie. But if you're going from a theological standpoint to see a biblically accurate movie,
this isn't your movie.
No, go see Night at the Museum.
Oh, jeez.
I'm just saying.
All right. Well, I agree with you. I mean, there was a lot. I mean, there are some things that the movie got right. Like, there were a few aspects.
The names?
Yeah, they got the names right, but...
Moses, Miriam, Aaron.
Ramses,
yeah. But
I mean, Ramses actually wasn't even named in Exodus.
No.
That's true. But yeah, so... It's difficult because I don't want... it's not... It's just difficult because I don't want us to be like... Yeah, it's not biblically accurate, but, at the same time, it was a great movie in terms of how it was shot. Me being involved in film and editing and all that stuff, it was fantastic. The score, I thought, was really good. Me being a music person.
Yes.
I thought all of that was fantastic.
No, I agree.
It just came down to the story and... whether it held true to the book is always better, in my opinion.
Let's just put it like this: if there was a Marvel movie in the theaters, I want to see Exodus tonight.
Okay, well that's a given.
Okay.
No, but so it's not just us, hating the movie because it's it's not according to the Bible, therefore it's crap,
No, I agree.
Yeah, it just in a lot of ways it was almost the implications of how they portrayed God and how they portrayed Moses as well. That really, I don't know how.
I think that the whole conflict between Ramses and Moses really overshadowed anything that needed to be said.
Yeah.
And the forcing of the relationship between God and Moses was...
It's almost like Moses hated God the entire movie.
Yeah, and I kind of feel that way too. I feel like that the point of the movie was not... I mean, we understand... I mean, we saw Noah.
Yeah.
We saw how biblically inaccurate it was.
Mm-hmm. Still a great movie.
It was a great movie. But I think both of these movies that... Let's just call them Bible reboots.
Okay.
We can call them Bible reboots because anytime they reboot a movie from the old days, they totally jack it up.
Yeah, well,
whether it's a movie or a TV show, the reboots always get it jacked up.
Yeah.
I feel nobody gets it right. I mean, I just watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and wanted to shoot myself in the head.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Bay Turtles just killed me.
Yeah.
But these reboots, I think they do. I think you can't go into this with any type of biblical knowledge. Yeah. Because and you can't go in there wanting to read into it either, because what you're going to find is, I think it'll affect somebody's faith more by seeing this weird relationship.
Yeah.
And not only the relationship that these prominent Bible men characters, as Noah and Moses, have with God, but the way that people see God. From the flip side, where Ramsey's like, how can you worship a God like this? I mean, there was
openly throughout the movie several times. It was like, how can you worship a God that's this cruel, that would like kill children? Right. Which, I mean, is an issue. Is a question. I mean, that's a legitimate question.
It's a good question.
But it kind of, I don't know, it overshadowed a lot, and it really making Moses seem like a crazy person. Yeah. Really kind of threw me off in a way. Yeah. And to me, it's going to be interesting. I don't know if, like, the Jewish community, how they would react to that. Right. If they have any stronger reactions.
Yeah, because Moses is the guy. Yeah. I mean, Abraham's there. Yeah. Isaac's there. But these are the guys who are the fathers of the nation. But this is the guy who led the Jewish community out of Egypt, out of slavery, and this is what they believe. And I feel like, not that it's an attack on the community per se, but I feel like it was the artistic avenue used here was, and could say, be a direct attack on God and His people. Right. But I'm not going to throw that into the pot to say that's really what it was. I mean, anybody can read anything into the movie, and I guess from what perspective you sit from, that's the perspective you're going to see. Exodus, good movie.
Let's
just say
I give it a solid 5 out of 10.
If you know what you know now, would you pay the $10 to go see it again?
No.
Okay. So, see Night at the Museum, people. Because we took the family, we all went, me and Justin are doing some recording and stuff, and we said, let's go see a movie, and everybody went and saw Night at the Museum, and they seemed to thoroughly enjoy that.
They did seem to really enjoy it.
And
it was a lot shorter movie as well.
Yeah. Get used to sitting through some slow parts in Exodus as well. Yeah. I guess on the flip side of that, I had a bad day in football.
Really?
Yeah, Duke lost.
Oh.
I'm a Duke fan. I graduated from Liberty University, which I did mention earlier that they did beat App State this year. Go Flames. I have a hard time saying that sometimes.
Go Flames.
Go Flames!
Are you a flamer?
I am a Liberty Flame, not Don't get me started. But yeah, so, Duke lost. ACC didn't do too well.
Oh, really?
In the bowl games, we've lost a few. Virginia Tech won.
I don't keep up with sports nearly as much as you do.
Yeah, we're going to have some issues there because we're going to talk about sports on this podcast for sure.
I can do football and basketball.
Well, we probably this is college football, man. Come on.
I mean, fine. All right. When the Super Bowl comes around, I can kind of chime in there, but until then, I'm kind of in the dark.
Yeah.
Go Seahawks. That's all I gotta say.
Oh my gosh. Are you a bandwagon guy?
No.
Okay. But we got some good football games this Sunday coming up too. I'm kind of looking forward to those. Yeah. We'll try to fill in a little bit of sports and movies and music with you. We'll probably try to hit some notes. I don't know how much we can say about other artists, but man, if you really want to check out somebody good, check out Foreknown from Humble Beast.
Oh yeah.
I'm really digging his ornithology.
Yeah.
CD. I
downloaded it earlier this semester, and I just kept playing it over and over again.
Oh yeah,
it's just in my apartment. Probably annoyed my roommates.
Yeah, I got a whole Humble Beast playlist on Spotify.
I do too.
And it amazes me to hear the level of talent that's coming from that group. From all those beautiful eulogy propaganda, Odd Thomas, Braille, Eshon Burgundy, and Jackie Hill Perry, dude, on point right now. I'm loving the Art of Joy. So yeah, I mean, big shout outs to Humble Beast doing what they're doing. Hopefully one day we can do a little something with them. That would be great, but that's all in the hopes and dreams of two guys who absolutely love what they're doing. I've been following those dudes since I met Boogaloo at our church.
Really?
We had a men's conference there, and he came down with the guys from Streetlights.
Seriously?
Out of Chicago.
Was I there for that, or was I there during that time period?
Yeah, you were there during that time period.
Jeez, I missed
that. That was right about my end when I was leaving.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so...
things got fuzzy there at the end, so...
Yeah, I know. It was a little convoluted.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, so I've been following Humble Beast for a while. Man, I met Propaganda in Atlanta, and dude's real. Talked with him... DJ Promote, who's not with Humble Beast, but he does a lot of stuff with those guys. I mean, just meeting real honest guys who are down to earth, always makes it easier to be around Christians who are artists, who are not overly prideful and kind of secluded from the populace because they have this celebrity notoriety about them, but just real honest dudes. And hey, honestly, man, check them out, humblebeast.com. Most of their stuff you can download for free. I suggest you buy stuff to support them.
Absolutely.
But check them out, humblebeast.com. Also, we have other guys that we support. I just want to plug one more, Heart Support, the lead singer from ABR, frontman, and a few other guys. They started an organization to reach people, and these are the things that we're involved in because they're reaching people nobody else is reaching. The kids that go to shows, the kids who are lonely, the kids who are in cutting, suicidal tendencies, things like that. Man, these guys have got a awesome organization. We donate to it. We hope that you'll go and donate to it. Check them out, heartsupport.com as well. So, man, we're running out of time.
Yeah.
I talked a lot. You talked a lot.
This has gone by fast.
Yeah, it really has. I didn't realize we've been a little over an hour into this. And,
man,
it's a lot better than our first take.
Yeah, a lot better than our first take. We're never going to release that. You guys are never going to hear it.
Yeah, probably not. But if you do, you're going to find out why it was bad.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we just want to say thanks for listening with us.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. We appreciate all your support and everything that you guys have done, even just listening to this. I mean,
Yeah. Check us out, ForgettingWalls.com. Twitter's at ForgettingWalls, and of course, Facebook.com/ForgettingWalls. Go and support us, like us, tweet at us, follow us.
Yeah, send us a message. Get in contact with us some way, and just let us know your story, and just let us know kind of your wrestling with these issues and with faith and all these different aspects of belief in itself.
Hey, and even if you're not wrestling with it, if you have good stories, send them to us.
Yeah.
Hey, one day we want to put all this together and share it with everybody. Bear with us. We just started. This is the first podcast. One blog up, one website up. Hey, follow us. We'll follow you.
Yeah.
And we just want to say thanks for visiting Forgetting Walls, listening to Justin.
Yeah, it's been a good conversation.
And I'm Keith. And we just want to remind you of this. People are not projects. They're people. So love them like you love yourself. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Forgetting Walls podcast. If you're subscribing to us on iTunes, leave us a rating to help us spread the word about this podcast. Remember, the only way this works is if you share your story. So be sure to visit the website and leave us a comment at ForgettingWalls.com, or find us on Twitter at ForgettingWalls and Facebook.com/ForgettingWalls.
Peace!